Hey guys, welcome back to the channel and Coffee and Cartridges. So today we're going to talk about my opinion on the best 270 cartridge. And what if I told you that 270 cartridges shoot 7mm bullets? Does that sound right? Stay tuned. Alright guys, it's been a little bit of a break, been really busy. Nice to be back with you. Just sit down and drink some coffee and talk about rifle cartridges. Today I want to talk about an American classic, the 270 or the 27 caliber cartridge. It's also the 6.8, so anytime you see 6.8 or 270, or if you see .277 bullets, something like that, it's all the same thing. It's 6.8 millimeter. It's 27 caliber. There is a few. The most famous and the original is the 270 Winchester. Made by Winchester, obviously, in 1925 to go in their Model 54 Winchester rifle, which was kind of a copy of the 1903 Springfield and the Mauser 98. It'd be a precursor to the Model 70. The 270 Winchester is, for all intents and purposes, just a neck down 30-06. And it's neck down from 30 caliber to 27 caliber. And some people say it's actually a 30-03 neck down to 270. And the main reason they went with that is because the 30-03 had a little bit longer neck. And so you can't accidentally put a 270 and chamber it into a 30-06 case. Now in 1925, there's not near the rifle cartridges that we have today. There's much smaller selection. 30-06 was popular. The 7mm Mauser was popular. But for them to pick .277 inches or 6.8 millimeters was an odd choice for a caliber. It was the first 27 caliber rifle cartridge that I know of. Now technically 27 caliber .277 or 6.8 millimeter is the diameter of the lands within the rifling of the barrel. The actual groove diameter, and this basically is what the bullet diameter is around 7mm. So a 270 shoots a 7mm bullet. And if you're wondering, a 7mm really shoots like a 7.2 millimeter bullet. Just a difference between the bullet size and the lands of the barrel, which of course is why your bullet doesn't just slide right down through there. It has tremendous resistance and actually is engraved and basically corked. It has to have a tremendous amount of pressure to push it through a barrel, which by the time it builds up that pressure, it obviously comes out fast. But yeah, a 270 shoots a 7mm bullet. The original 270 was geared around a 130 grain bullet going around 3,100 feet per second. It really was made to shoot very fast and very flat. They've kind of toned it down a little bit in factory offerings today, but originally was made to shoot that bullet very fast. But even today, factory ammo still shoots it quite fast. But with that 1 in 10 twist, the 130 to 150 grain bullet really is where it's kind of geared toward, and that's what you're going to find most factory offerings in. Great cartridge, has taken pretty much every animal in the world, and it is really just for hunting. It's a hunting cartridge, and it's one of the most popular even to this day, and has a amazing fan base that loves that 270, and it's a great cartridge. Right around 1940, Roy Weatherby started developing his new cartridges, and the first three, the 270 Weatherby, the 257 Weatherby, and the 300 Weatherby, were all coming out. The 257 and the 270 were just a little bit shorter, fit inside of a standard length case, versus that 300 was the full length H&H case. And the very first one was the 270, so his very first cartridge he publicly released. Amazing cartridge. And just like the 270 was a 30-06 neck down, This cartridge is a 300 H&H neck down and shortened a little bit. Of course, it keeps the characteristics of the H&H, has that belt, a little bit fatter case, hold more powder, and it's definitely going to be like the 270 Winchester on steroids. It's going to be shooting at several hundred feet per second faster. So another great cartridge for hunting all around the world. Fast forward to the year like around 2000, maybe 1999. Winchester and Remington both started coming out with short magnums. The short action ultra magnums and the Winchester short magnums. And one real popular one was the 270 WSM, or short action. It's just a 30 WSM neck down to 27 caliber. The 30 WSM comes very close, if not all the way, at duplicating the performance of the 300 Winchester Magnum. The 270, though, WSM really outperforms the 270 Winchester as far as velocity. It's more in line with the 270 Weatherby. And that is the 3 cartridges in the 270 class that are called 270. For a long time, that's really all you had. You know, you had really just the 270 and the 270 Weatherby for a long time, half a century. And then finally the 270 WSM has come out. It's definitely a more niche caliber. Not near as many offerings. It's not like the 30 caliber or the 7mm or the 22. It's just, there's not that many cartridges in that caliber. However, the 270 Winchester has been very popular. Well, here recently, we have come out with some new 27 caliber cartridges. The 6.8 SPC, which is just taking an old 30 Remington and necking it down. Very similar in overall shape and size to a 5.56 or a 2.23. It's a great cartridge for an AR-15. And then Nosler came out with their 27 Nosler. It's the last one that they made in their line. They had 26, 28, 30, 33, and then 27. It's a little bit of a departure. It's not exactly the same as the 26 and 28. They actually push the shoulder back just a little bit. It's got a little bit less case capacity, but it has a longer neck, and it has a 1 in 8.5 twist versus the 1 in 10 that all the other ones have had to make it shoot a little bit heavier bullets. And then of course it has even more case capacity than the 270 Weatherby. All right, so you can see on your screen right now the 270 Weatherby versus the 27 Nosler. Very similar rim diameter, 5.32 versus 5.34. The big difference though is one has the belt. So the belt is kind of in the way, and in reality you're not getting the same case capacity. So even though you're getting overall the same cartridge, overall length, neck length is the same, and there's not that much difference. The big difference, besides the shoulder, one has a 35-degree shoulder angle versus a double radius shoulder. The big difference is just the width. 27 Nosler is just wider, even though the rims is about the same. It's just that belt makes it look really bigger than it is. You're going to get about 10 grains more case capacity in the 27 Nosler versus the 270 Weatherby, and about 200 to 250 feet per second more velocity. So it's just a more modern version of the 270 Weatherby. You're just going to eke out a little bit more speed. Either one's a great choice. If you're hunting elk or moose, either one will work just fine. But I definitely give the edge to the 27 Nosler for the bigger game, especially a little bit extended range, just because of that extra powder capacity and extra muzzle velocity. And then the 6.8 Western came out, and it's basically just a 270 short mag, shoulder pushed back a little bit less case capacity compared to the short mag, but it's designed with a 1 in 8 twist, and it's going to have a higher head height. The chamber is going to be designed for those heavier, higher BC bullets. It's going to be a much more versatile option. So if you only have one cartridge to hunt everything, the 6.8 Western would be better for that. And then the 277 Sig Fury, more recent development. It's basically just a 308 neck down to 27 caliber, similar to a Wildcat called the 270 Redding. And it sounds like a really good cartridge. There's also the tri-metal version of it that can get up to 80,000 PSI with that stainless steel web and base. Definitely interesting there. But we're going to focus more on the three, standard 270s, the 270 Winchester, WSM, and Weatherby. So let's kind of do a deep dive and comparison on those right now.
All right, this is pretty interesting. Got 130 grain in the 270 WSM and the 270 Weatherby Magnum. Keep in mind it's a 24-inch barrel with the 270 WSM and a 26-inch with the Weatherby Magnum. All right, let's compare these two. Well, if you go all the way to the bottom, you see 3393 versus 3476, so slight edge to the Weatherby Magnum. However, different powder. Now, you compare reloader 22, it does have a little bit of a bump there, about 70 feet per second, but that is with 8 grains more powder. But look at MagPro, 72 grains with the WSM at 3390, and here 76 grains at 3304. That's 90 feet per second slower with the Weatherby Magnum with 4 grains more powder. That's interesting, with a 2-inch longer barrel. What about IMR 4350? WSM is going about 3284 with 63 grains, 68 grains at 3350. So you're only getting 70 feet per second with 5 more grains and 2 more barrel inches. Interesting. Look at the IMR 7828. You've got almost 10 grains more in the Weatherby, yet you only have about 70 feet per second more, about 80 feet per second more. So pretty interesting. Just kind of depends on the powder. All right, same thing here, but 150 grains. Let's check it. Once again, MagPro with the WSM 3193. MagPro with the Weatherby 3028. That's crazy. Apparently MagPro hates the Weatherby Magnum and loves the WSM. 7828, 3206 versus 3114. So once again, 7828 definitely prefers the Weatherby Magnum. 4350 with the WSM 2989. And with the Weatherby Magnum 3060, that's 70 feet per second faster, yet it's got 9 grains more powder and 2 extra inches on the barrel. Do the same comparison, but this time with the 270 Winchester and the 270 WSM, 150 grain. All right, MagPro, 61.5 grains at 2918 for the Winchester, 68 grains at 3193. I guess nothing really spectacular there. Reloader 22, 56.5 at 2902, 61 grains at 3158. So this seems more like it makes sense. You're definitely going to get a boost in velocity with the WSM over the Winchester. All right, what about 130 grain? 55 grains of IMR 4350 at 3078, 63 grains at 3284. So yeah, this is pretty consistent. The difference between 270 and 270 WSM is pretty consistent. You can hold more capacity in the WSM, and therefore you're going to get more velocity. It might be a hair more efficient as well. But the difference in the WSM and the Weatherby was kind of all over the place. It really depends on the powder.
All right, so you can see comparing these is really a matter of, if you're a hand loader, what powder are you going to be using? Certain powders, depending on how fast or slow they're burning and how much, case capacity that they need, could be more suitable in the WSM, or more suitable in the Weatherby, or more suitable in the standard Winchester. So it's kind of powder specific. There are times where the WSM basically does the same thing, if not better, based on the Nosler manual, depending on the powder. Other powders, the Weatherby will definitely have an edge. And then sometimes the WSM has 100 feet per second advantage on the standard Winchester, depending on the powder. Other times it's much more than that, maybe over 200, 250. So for the hand loader, it will be powder dependent. Generally speaking, it's just what you're looking to get. My personal pick would be the 270 WSM. I just think it's the best design, best overall cartridge, the most efficient. You're getting the most bang out of your buck, and I just prefer it the best. Does that mean it's the best? No. If you have a 270 Winchester, you're established with it, and you know how it shoots, and you've had it for a long time. Do you need to get rid of it and get a newer one? I would say no. If you have a 270 Weatherby, once again, you're established with it. You've been on many hunts with it. You know how it shoots. Do you need to replace it with a 270 WSM or a 27 Nosler? I would say no. I'd say keep it. Both of those rifle cartridges are outstanding, and there's no reason to get rid of them. So if you're not a hand loader and you're going to be buying factory ammo, it's a question of availability. It's no contest. It's for sure the 270 Winchester. You're going to be able to find rifles, ammo, so much more common, so much easier, and so much cheaper than the other ones. So if it's a question of availability, there is no question. Definitely buy the 270 Winchester. And then, you know, if you're all about barrel life, the 270 Winchester is going to have the best barrel life. I would say none of these three have great barrel life, but they're okay. But the more powder is being burned, sent down the same hole, it's just going to get hotter, and eventually the throat's going to wear out a little bit quicker the bigger you get. So the 27 Nosler will be the worst. You know, so the WSM will be a little bit worse than the 270. Weatherby, around the same, maybe a little bit worse than the WSM. So if barrel life's a concern, or maybe you like to put 5 cartridges in your magazine versus 3. So you can put 5 cartridges in a magazine with a 270 Winchester. Probably in that same magazine only get 3 of the short mags because they're just so much fatter. That could be something to think about. In my XPR, my 270 WSM feeds very well without any issues, but potentially, based on the rifle you have, the inherent feeding might be better in the 270 Winchester and the 270 Weatherby versus the 270 short mag. But personally, I have had 0 issues. So it really just depends on a lot of factors on which one is the best. But just on paper and just by my personal experience, I think the winner would be the 270 WSM. Appreciate you guys watching. I'd love to know what you think. I know a lot of you guys that love the 270 Winchester. Love to know some of your experiences with any of these cartridges. Which one you think is the best, and why do you think it's the best? Which one do you think is the worst, and why do you think it's the worst? If you've liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing. More videos like this will be coming out. Got a lot more content coming out, not just coffee and cartridges, but a lot of other stuff coming. I think you'll find it interesting. Hopefully you've had a great day, and until next time, take care.